An episode-by-episode compilation of all relevant info I could find on the Heartstopper show plus observations from myself and others. All sources listed in the description, including a huge playlist of every video available on YouTube plus links to articles and other outside sources. Episode 2 is adapting part of Volume 1 Chapter 2 of the graphic novels. Set decorator Maxwell Fine on Nick's room.
Nick's room wanted to be a contrast to Charlie's. In Charlie's bedroom we see a lot of personal creativity in the objects he surrounds himself with. It's almost like his mum has decorated it for him and he's added personal touches as a layer on top of that. We start our story with Nick not really knowing much about his sexuality, so we wanted to add heteronormative touches to his room to ground his character visually. Our king of rugby has a lot of trophies and sports medals. We dressed robots on the windowsill, tin spaceships and sports-themed games, metal gridded shelving, aeroplanes hanging from the ceiling and of course a load of hoodies everywhere. It's a boy's bedroom. There are a few bits from when he was younger, but we thought maybe his mum had had a good clear out and redecorated as he grew up. He even has a double bed. As with all our sets, when we have hard surfaces we needed to cozy it up a bit, and we do this here with soft linen curtains, throwback bedding and a slouchy corduroy beanbag. I especially loved Alice's "straight boy puts up one string of fairy lights for Christmas and never takes them down" vibe. Of course, there's buckets of personality in Nick's bedroom too, but we wanted it to be less free-flowing and fluid than Charlie's. Knowing Nick's mum was a doctor, we thought there had to be a sense of formality and style to the space to contrast with Charlie's wholly creative and organic environment. The most out there this room gets is the bright yellow sunglasses hanging on the pegboard. Crazy Nick. There's more structure to the objects we put into this space, less eclectic and more Scandinavian design themes, block colors and cleanly shaped objects in light wood, chrome and frosted perspex. I think this sets the tone for a teen who seemingly has his life together and allowed us to strike that distinction when he realizes it may be taking a turn in a different but fabulous direction as our story develops. I guess it depends on how much you think stuff defines a person.
And in there, that is the filming beat comes from, so it's the actually
there, if you actually really look, there might be a wild Kit Connor in there somewhere.
Quiet on set, please. Hi, I'm Joe and I'm playing Charlie in Heartstopper on Netflix. Here we are in Charlie's bedroom set. It looks exactly like it does in the comics, with the music sign, the bookshelf and the drum kit all in the exact same place. In the art department have put many Converse in the wardrobe, although you'll notice that he only ever actually wears 1 or 2 pairs. It's amazing how much detail the art department have put into these sets. I mean, even like this half-drunk cup of tea that Charlie's been drinking, this photo of us all that we took. My favourite of everything is the plasticine model of Charlie, which I think it looks quite like me. There's lots of little references to the comics, such as these leaves, which we have over there. If you look close enough when you're watching, you can see that Alice's books are dotted around the bookcase. Charlie plays the drums a lot in this series, and before this I could not play the drums at all. I'd never even touched a drum kit in my life. But Netflix gave me a drum teacher and I had a few lessons, and they still gave me a drum double because I wasn't that good.
Charlie's Insta bio is a leaf emoji. These Instagram accounts exist, but they are private and only followed by the actors. Many people thought this picture means Charlie has a cat. He has no pets because his parents don't want any. Charlie is just characterized as a cat person in that he likes cats and is like a cat.
And later on in the week we had a social media day, so basically we were taking pictures of us in costume for our characters' social media platforms on the show. So that was a really fun day. We all kind of got dressed up in all these different costumes. There was some pictures of Charlie, me and Tao at school. Wow. You can be in it if you want. It's fine. No, it's fine. No. Ready? No. And then there was these pictures that were meant to be us at a party, but we were just on the stage in the school and they like set up these lights. But yeah, it looked really cool. And then there was these really cute pictures of Corrie and Kizzy in pushing each other in a trolley. And then they did this setup which was like a pride day. So we were all basically just on the school field with a picnic set up and we all had flags. They brought Yaz out a trans flag and yeah, it was just really cute.
This seems to be a picture of the changing room corridor.
Did you hear something in 9 is gay? It's not really brilliant, like, he's sort of half it, honestly. What did he expect?
This scene is a bit open to interpretation and confused some people. It is mainly there to show that A. Nick is aware that Charlie was bullied and the kinds of things that were said about him, and B. He feels bad for not intervening even though he didn't know Charlie back then. Someone commented that please don't talk to Ben anymore lol might be an Easter egg from the webcomic. Apparently this exchange was on page 101 and the page number was right next to the text, so someone commented that they read the page number as lol and Alice responded to the comment saying OMG. I don't know how to verify this at this point though, because the original was updated in 2018 with lots of pages redrawn, and while this still happens on page 101, the page number is not close to the text in the current version. I will still include this in the video because it might be true. Just know that I personally have no idea.
From the street I see your window and I look up in.
I helped to get Sappho by Frankie Cosmos on this soundtrack, and I was very proud of myself for that, for like, Patrick and Alice, you know what you should put on? You should put Sappho by Frankie Cosmos.
Quote from The Guardian's Alice Oseman interview: "No drugs, booze, sex or swearing. Will Heartstopper rewrite the Young Lovell book?" By Rachel Roescht.
Incorporating phones was so hard on a practical level. The teen filmed endless screens only to discover the text was too zoomed out. You can't read the words, or you don't know where your eyes are supposed to focus. They eventually landed on Instagram as the messaging app of choice, partly because obviously teenagers use it all the time, but also because its formatting was very easy to understand.
One of the things I really liked about the show was how natural and authentic all of like the social media and the texting and the DMing part of it felt. You know, when you like see the 3 dots appear when someone's typing, but then it vanishes. I think films and TV shows have kind of struggled to show that stuff sometimes in a way that feels real and feels like part of the story, but I think Heartstopper does it really well. With those scenes quite tricky to shoot, like sort of conjuring up all this emotion when it's just you and a phone. For those quite difficult.
I mean, it was a lot of like, okay, so move your thumbs a bit. What anxious thumbs? Okay, waiting thumbs, sort of like very much direction. Lots of thumb choreography.
Okay.
Yeah. So because the sound didn't have to be on, our director would be like telling us what to do with our thumbs. Okay, and now type a bit more. Okay, one more, and delete it and send it, and then you're anxious to send it. So it's very much a lot of that. But I think that what makes the social media aspect part of Heartstopper so authentic is because Alice, the writer, understands social media, grew up with social media. And I think a lot of other dramas, when it's an old white man writing about the teenage experience, he can't really quite get his head around it. Not that, anyway. So I think it's good that Alice completely understands like the teenage experience and the fact that nowadays social media is such an integral part of being a teenager, and it makes up quite a lot of how you talk to people in your day-to-day conversations with people. And so why wouldn't you show that on the screen? Why wouldn't you show that? Because that's what's authentic, that's what's true.
Nellie Nelson is played by Echo the dog. Echo is a male border collie who ended up playing Nellie because the original dog they picked was sick during shooting. Echo the dog has an Instagram at There's Only One Echo.
Who does Echo the dog love more?
Only because you spend more time. Only
no, it's just because I'm a dog person.
I'm also
dogs
a dog person.
Dogs love me.
And we don't get to see Nick's point of view for that text. Frequently used emojis include pride flags, trans flag for L, film strip for Tau, and Heartstopper leaves. The original score for Heartstopper was composed by Edgar Chase.
Edgar Chase came on board as composer quite late in the process, after we'd temped quite a lot of the show with some other stuff. And the first few cuts I showed her, I'd stripped all the music off because I didn't want to influence her with what we'd temped with, because when you temp, you just magpie stuff from all sorts of different films. So she had a very pure experience to begin with. And so she had a clean slate from which to compose from. And then there were moments as we went through the process where things weren't quite right. So I went, okay, Agnieszka, I'm going to play you the temp. Now promise me you're not going to copy it. You just take inspiration from it. And which she did, brilliantly. But we wanted it to be electronica. We wanted it to be unconventional, but accessible, and to speak of magic without being sweet or overly cute. And which is quite a tough brief, isn't it? Now I think about it. That's really she did brilliantly.
Well, I've noticed you haven't made many friends in your form group. I can't imagine it's easy moving schools in the middle of year 11. How about you promise me you'll try to make at least one new friend before then?
Okay, maybe.
The teacher means well, but that is not how it works. And you just had to say this in the middle of class where everyone can hear? Biggest mystery of the show is what are they doing here?
Look at that big fat camera just to get Joe's ear.
We'll go back way first.
He's straight, Charlie. Like, wow, we're in our maths class. I love maths. Woo. Here we are. Masculine guys can be gay. And no offence, but you're not exactly the authority in working out who is and isn't gay. And bisexual people exist.
Isaac's book of the day is Naruto Volume 72 by Masashi Kishimoto. This is the last volume of the manga series. If you know manga and anime, you'll have heard of this series about a young ninja. Is it cool to like Naruto nowadays? It certainly wasn't in 2009 when I was drawing absolute atrocities like this. I am sorry for sharing that. That wasn't even the worst one. I didn't have Heartstopper, so I had to survive on Naruto fanfics. You kids are lucky and I am old.
This is my book for today. Naruto. Hey everyone. Hey vlog. Guys, say hi to my vlog. Nice one.
Mr. Ajayi.
Charlie Spring.
I have a question.
Art referencing gay activist Keith Haring.
I thought you had a boyfriend.
No, he was horrible. This is someone else.
Wow, being a teenager is terrible.
I think that is an underrated hilarious line, but I just realized I probably find it so funny because I am way closer to Mr. Ajayi's age than anyone else in the show.
Oh, you dropped your pencil case. Oh, thanks, Tara.
Tara Jones is another character from the comics that gets expanded in the show. She is played by Kierna Brown. Tara is a very nice, bubbly, open-hearted person. She plays the clarinet and loves dancing.
Also had sweet nature and zest for life is something I think we really have in common. And I love that in a character. And I don't think Black characters are normally represented as the hard, stern character. So the fact that she's just sweet and going through a really hard time and figuring that out, that was something that I was like, wow, I've got to do this justice.
I can barely draw stick figures.
All the non-artists react to that like, "Aw, that's sweet," and all the artists who have heard that 1,000 times are like,
Did Miss Greenwood tell you to try and make friends with me?
No.
Hi. So, Tara said you had no friends.
Darcy Olsen, played by Kizzy Edgell, who goes by they them pronouns, is Tara's girlfriend. She has a tough home life with her homophobic parents, but at school she's out, proud and full of life. Also, she has no filter.
I mean, I don't think I could have gone into acting any other way. Darcy's so much like me. And I don't know, it feels a lot like my story. It's obviously slightly different from my experience, but it does feel like, I can tell this right, I feel.
We don't know loads in the graphic novels about Darcy's backstory, other than that she's just, you know, out and proud and confident and chaotic. We looked at this one scene in the comics where Darcy says that, well, Tara says that Darcy's parents aren't very supportive of her. And I really like that contrast between how supportive her friends are of her and how little her family like supports her. So I thought that was really, really interesting. I've got a really supportive family, so I feel quite lucky. Darcy is, oh, she means everything to me. First of all, I just have to say that Darcy's so precious to me. Of course, she reminds me of myself when I was younger, when I came out. That all is so familiar, and I think that's why I like playing her, because she's just so familiar.
Monster Munch? Monster Munch is a popular UK children's baked corn snack shaped like a monster foot. Flavors include roast beef, pickled onion, and flamin' haunt.
Another thing is the pair befriends Elle early on. For Tara and Darcy, what was it about Elle and her spirit that made them compatible as friends?
I think the friendship's like initiated by Tara. And I think Darcy's just happy to know another queer person. I think that's a really sweet thing about like school queer relationships, is that you all sort of find each other just because you have this shared experience. And I think that was part of it too.
And I kept getting suspended because of my hairline. Hair length? Yeah, they have this stupid chin length or above rule. Oh, God, I relate to Elle in so many ways just because of high school, because she moved high school because obviously she transitioned. I moved because I was getting bullied. And my hair length, and also the same with her, like her hair length was a problem in school. So there's just so many things that it delves into as a trans person in high school that would never usually be seen on screen. And yeah, there's so many ways that I relate to her in her high school journey. And she found her friendship group from high school, and I did when I moved schools eventually. And yeah, it's crazy how much we relate. Have you two been friends for a long time?
Best gal pals.
Gal pals.
Since you're 7, so 5 years of hell.
Tell me about working with Kizzy, and did the two of you spend a lot of time together off set to build that relationship and that trust?
Yes, Kizzy is amazing. They are just such fun. And the general rule of thumb was, yeah, if I was in working, they'd be in working that day too, because yeah, we are Tara and Darcy. So naturally we spent the most time together, and it was great. And we were all going through this experience, like we are filming a Netflix show. So we all going through this experience. So because we had that in common, like we were on the same ground, we were going through the same motions, we got it. We clicked, and it's down to the casting as well, because honestly you can't fake like your friendships and genuine chemistry. So even with the whole cast, Daniel Edwards did a good job, because we all generally get on, they're great people, such good friends. And also with like the intimacy side of it, like when the characters are a lot closer, we had David on set as well, who was helping us. He helped build that relationship and the trust between us both. It was just a whole group team effort.
So tell me about building that relationship with Corrina, that trust that we see on screen.
She's a bit older than me. So I feel like she had loads to teach me. And when we first met, we were obviously like super awkward, and I think Corrina was less awkward than I was. I was very sort of nervous, like it's my first thing I've ever done, very, very nervous. But Corrina really did quite quickly make me feel comfortable, just because she's got this like insane amount of energy, and I'm quite a sleepy, dozy person, and she always would bring up the energy. As people know, on the first day of set, I spilled coffee all over myself, and Corrina completely giggling and taking the mick out of me really did make me feel quite comfortable.
When Kizzy spilled coffee down themselves.
Yeah, they had this hoodie, and it was like a tie-dye hoodie. I think you can see it in the trailer actually. And they spilt like coffee, and I think it was one of the first days.
It was definitely their first day.
Yeah, it was their first day of shooting, and spilt coffee like all over the hoodie. And yeah, it was so funny.
It was very, very funny.
I say you're quite like Darcy because of the spilling of the coffee, day one.
Spilling of the coffee on day one.
All nerves were gone because he had spilled coffee down her costume. So I was
Right
like,
before
well, I've not done anything yet. So I was like, it's all gonna be okay.
It was right, like, the first scene that we were filming, and we had one take to go, so we'd basically done this whole thing, and we were like, right, last take, this is gonna be the perfect take. And just before I'm supposed to go on, everywhere,
it was
all over my nice hoodie.
I think Darcy using this hoodie the whole show was cute. I saw it as a way to feel more comfortable because maybe she didn't feel well in the uniform. Does it have a reason, or it's just something casual? I remember making the decision to do this in the costume department. We obviously we needed like a winter thing and a summer thing. Because the seasons changed throughout the show. And it was my idea to wear it was really the costume department's idea, but I suggested it, to wear a hoodie over the uniform, just because it's something that really does happen in Britain. But kids usually do get told off for it. You're like not supposed to do it, to wear a hoodie over a uniform. Also, I've just realized I'm wearing tie-dye again, which is very Darcy. So it's I think it's partly a rebellious thing, partly that too. And I know Darcy doesn't like wearing dresses, and I think some schools here do say that if you're a girl you have to wear a skirt, and if you're a boy you get to wear trousers. And I think it does cover some of the skirt, and her skirt is also like deliberately oversized. Most of her uniform is deliberately oversized just so she feels a bit more comfortable.
This is Nellie.
Oh my god, she's so cute. I wish I had a dog. My parents don't like animals.
People freak out about this comment, but it's super common for people to not want pets.
You should come around my house and meet her. Are you free on Saturday?
Yeah, I think so.
Hi. Where are you going?
Round of friends?
Towels?
No, his name's Nick.
You might as well have said Nick, who I have a massive crush on.
Have fun at Nick's.
She knows.
Hey.
Hey.
This is Nellie. You got a haircut.
Is it... is it bad?
No, you look... It looks great.
Everyone has been wondering if you were going to grow your hair out.
Okay, well, there was actually drama about my hair from season 1. So the day I found out I had my recall, so after I did my self-tape, I got a haircut. And then that was like, then we ended up filming like 3 weeks later, so my hair hadn't grown back to what it was. And then everyone was like, Joe, why did you get a haircut? And I was like, because you didn't tell me I couldn't get a haircut. So I was actually supposed to have longer hair. So then when Charlie has the haircut in season 1, that Nick's like, oh, you've had your haircut. I actually didn't have a haircut, because the thing was that he noticed a little difference. But I was originally supposed to have a haircut.
How are you so good at this?
You get to be good at real sports, I get to be good at fake
No,
ones.
you're just good at everything.
In the comic, Charlie states here that the reason he's so good at Mario Kart is because he plays with his 6-year-old brother Oliver. Oliver Spring is Charlie's younger brother who was not included in the Netflix show. Alice had this to say about omitting Oliver from the series.
Oliver has little to no plot significance other than being adorable, and hiring a young child actor has a lot of difficulties and challenges. Less Olive means more screen time for other characters.
This hoodie is probably not the same one Kit wears later. This is probably an extra large version to make it obvious it's too big for Charlie. Yes, the snow is super fake. This was filmed in the summer.
Best musical moment, presented by Sonic.
Dance with me, Heartstopper.
What kind of you were you most excited, having read the comics, to see brought into life, other than anything you've discussed already?
I think the snow scene, because it's sort of the first time that you see like the sparks between Nick and Charlie and like blossoming into more than a friendship. And so yeah, I was really excited. And I was also just excited to see how you would film a snow scene in the middle of April. Yeah, but it was a really fun day, and that was the day the cast announcement happened. So it was like a fun day that I remember for many different reasons.
Charlie is still kind of centered in his snow angel, which means Nick scooted closer.
When Alice and Patrick first pitched the show to a streamer to try and get it commissioned, Patrick thought it would be a really great idea to bring some of the graphic novel into the script as a kind of marketing ploy. So Alice was doodling some of her iconic imagery in the margins.
Some of the script excerpts from the Netflix tie-in of Heartstopper Volume 1.
And that was the script that Patrick sent to Netflix. And then that kind of evolved into thinking, oh, what if this imagery appeared on the screen as well? And by the time I read the script, there were some of the very specific scripted Heartstopper moments. There was the snow in episode 2. There was the bullying sequence.
Oh, what a weirdo! Such a loser.
In Charlie in school. So those were scripted.
He's very different to your other friends, isn't he? You seem much more yourself around him.
Do I?
You do.
Mother knows best. Listen to your mother.
Did you guys have your nose ring multiple colours, change colour all your years? I know. Who are you texting?
Imogen Heaney is a new character that wasn't in the comics, played by Rhea Norwood.
The main reason that we needed Imogen in there was we needed some more obstacles for Nick to face in his kind of coming out journey. In the comics, Nick and Charlie have their first kiss, and then they have their conversation at Charlie's house, and then Nick is feeling like very sort of assured and confident in his feelings. But that we needed to elongate that journey for the TV show, so it doesn't all like wrap up immediately after their first kiss. And Imogen was a part of that. And it also kind of ties into Nick's like bisexuality journey, you know, trying to figure out, does he like Imogen or does he like Charlie, or like what are these feelings? So yeah, that is kind of why she ended up in the story. And I ended up really, really loving her as a character. I'm excited to bring her back.
Yeah, I love Imogen. Yep. It's been so fascinating. Like when we talked about the reception of her, people can't put her in a box. People can't decide whether they love her or they hate her. She's a bit like Marmite, I guess. And I think that's a really lovely place to sit with a character, someone who's quite morally grey, you can't quite place. That's really interesting. I think the thing I enjoy about Imogen is she's really complicated. Yeah. I think on paper, she could be this sort of classic sort of popular girl, mean girl trope. Mm. I felt we'd seen that before, and so did Alice and Patrick and everybody. And that wasn't something that I wanted particularly I really wanted to just go down. I think that we've seen it. I was never popular at school either. So like they cast somebody who's like had no experience in being like the popular girl. I saw getting like when I got my recall for Imogen, like she was like popular girl. I was like, have my chance to like redo secondary school there. I don't know.
Your mum?
This is probably the most dude bro version of Nick we get to see in the show. Can you imagine him making a "your mom" joke with Charlie? I greatly appreciate it nonetheless.
Come on, who's DMZ?
I haven't. God.
He's definitely chirping someone.
I had a scene where I was playing rugby. It was my first time doing a rugby scene, and there was 2 proper rugby teams playing, and I basically am playing like the star rugby player, so I had to do a combination of moves, you know, just run around people, kick it, catch it, and then score a try. And it took me many times. And I think there was literally a point where someone was just like, can you just let him score? Because it was that bad. So that was my embarrassment.
But you tried though.
I tried.
You tried.
Nick likes a goal. What? Like, he's in love with a girl.
That would be a huge exaggeration even if he was still into Tara.
How'd you know that? Okay, I know how much you like him, and I just don't want you to get hurt. So I decided to do some digging over the half term, and I messaged Otis since I've sort of known from doing the school play.
Otis Smith is one of the 3 rugby lads that Nick is friends with that are featured more in the comics. These 3 except Charlie, and Charlie once comments that Cy and Christian are nice, and even Otis sometimes. So Otis is less nice than the others, but still one of the good ones that get redeemed in Volume 3. On the show, Otis is portrayed by Iraloin Oshunarami from Top Boy. For some reason Otis is named Omar in the printed versions of the graphic novels, but he's still Otis in the webcomics and the Kindle versions I have. I have no clue why.
Her name's Tara Jones.
How convenient that it's the girl Elle just became friends with. Isaac, Tal and Elle's group chat is all about Charlie.
As your token straight friend, it's my duty to remind you that sometimes people are straight.
Some people have pointed out that it's cool how in the show the straight guy of the group, Tal, is the most flamboyant and dramatic, going against stereotypes. Also, him calling himself the token straight friend implies that the group is already aware that Isaac is not straight. Isaac is ROACE, but that never gets mentioned in the first season. Also, I thought Elle was straight, but maybe her being trans excludes her from being a token straight in the group. Tal is still the only non-LGBTQIA+ member of this group, and I get that this was just a joke anyway. It's just interesting.
The token straight thing, like, I didn't actually realize upon first reading how it's a subtle kind of reversal of like the convention and the stereotype, I should say. So I think the way in which Alice attacked in such a subtle way, in which, you know, it's just a beautiful friendship and a beautiful kind of love that blossoms, and there isn't like a second thought. It's not like at the complete forefront of all the drama that's happening. I think it's just a thing that's there. And even though Elle does touch upon her struggles, I just think it's a beautifully subtle way to portray, you know, love in that way.
Alice Oseman, they did put out a tweet just a few days ago, basically confirming some fans' theories, which is that Isaac giving off aro-ace, which is aromantic asexual vibes, was intentional. And have you actually had a chance to speak with Alice after they put out this tweet?
Yes, I spoke with Alice briefly about it. The fan response to that has been incredible. And yeah, I think it would, like, there's no asexual representation on TV that I'm aware of. So whether that's Isaac that gets to do that or any other character, I think that would be so cool. That would be such a cool thing to see on TV. And I know it's close to Alice's heart, so I'd feel really honoured to be able to tell that story. But yeah, no confirmation.
Isaac, I've already warned you about encouraging Charlie's crushes on straight boys.
But I want to believe in romance.
I want to believe in romance.
There we go. Yeah, so it was actually used in the trailer, which I'm thinking you did not know that it was going to be in the trailer, or did you have an inkling? Did you get a hint about it?
I found out the day before, but so I was like, oh, that's so cool, I can't believe my voice is going to be in the trailer. But I didn't realize people would connect with it as much as they did.
Charlie literally won't give up on this straight boy until we know for sure.
Oh my god, be quiet.
Tal's room is actually the same set they used for Charlie's room. Due to their filming schedule, Charlie's room was rearranged into Tal's by shifting the window placement a bit and refurnishing. The set was built inside the school's old assembly hall.
Show us around your bedroom.
Welcome to my room. We got some photo posters. We got some Polaroids here. We've got some cool cameras up here. Look up over there. That's what that's like.
Wow.
We only need you.
I'll get special dispensation.
These are so cute. Oh my god, Will, look at that one. You're like a supermodel.
So cute.
Oh my god, these are so cute.
This one, are you here?
Where? Oh my god, it's just me and my book. That's so cute. That's horrid. I look disgusting. Aww. Hey, Towel's room.
So welcome everyone to
a vlog.
Day whatever. What day?
Day 33.
Day 33.
33.
Even though it's a Friday.
Okay, look, if and only if I get the chance, I'll ask her.
Thank you.
I'm making no promises.
Isaac actually has a book in this scene, and it's The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger. The book is about a man with a genetic condition that forces him to time travel uncontrollably throughout his life, and his wife who has to deal with her husband's sudden disappearances from the present and appearances in her past all the way back to when she was a child. I personally love this book, but it's kind of a tough read because of the non-linear timeline, and it's quite long too. Isaac seems to have an interest in sci-fi and especially time travel, as we'll come to notice from his book selections.
Can we be a group of 3? Oh my god, yes please. Darcy's pronunciation is horrendous.
Je suis très bien en français.
See.
Darcy, ¿tienes un novio? Sí, tengo una novia. Je crois que novia, c'est féminin, ce qui veut dire que tu as une petite amie. Oups.
Tara, vous avez un petit ami?
Non, je n'ai pas un petit ami.
What? It's true.
I know. Elle, vous avez des frères et des sœurs?
You just spaced out.
Oh.
What's up?
The attentive king strikes again with his emotional intelligence and caring nature.
Do you want to come around my house?
Hi.
Poster behind them says relationship.
You've befriended the school lesbians.
So we saw Tara and Darcy befriend Elle early on. What was it like working with Yasmin, and how natural did that connection feel?
Oh, Yaz is an absolute queen, and from the very first day we hit it off, really, from meeting at the chemistry reads, she's just got such a good energy, and yeah, we all just clicked straight away. It was like there's definitely Karina and Yaz having a good time, and then there's like Elle and Tara, which we need to tone down a bit because Karina and Yaz together are wild. We have a great time.
Hey.
I deeply regret using that sweater as reference for this fan art I drew. It was not fun to figure out. I should draw better ones. This is not my best work.
You loved his jumpers though.
I love Charlie's jumpers. I didn't take any of them though, because they only had one of each one and they weren't allowed to give me them.
There. You're a pro now.
Number 1, when I watch a movie with a friend, we definitely sit as far away from each other for maximal space and comfort, so they're already a bit sus with how they're both in the middle of the couch. Number 2, Charlie is really on another level, falling asleep while sitting right next to his crush. I could never.
There's a moment, which is also in the trailer actually, where we're sitting on a sofa and
Charlie's asleep, and then Nick sort of hovers his hand over Charlie's, sort of almost thinking about holding it, and then there's like sparks that are animated on, and it's just this sort of warm glow, and I think that is very much like, it's one of those little moments that is just almost life-changing for Nick. It's this sort of overwhelming feeling of, you know, doubt and confusion, and, you know, like, what's going on? Suddenly I'm feeling these incredible, like, passionate, strong feelings.
And then we had a very simple one, for example, as we push in on them watching TV in this sunset setting, and they're trying to hold hands, as Nick is trying to hold hand of Charlie, and the little light kind of comes in and out. So that was just a very simple, like, a light dim option. Yeah.
Well, for me, a moment that gets me every time is when Charlie's asleep on Nick's sofa and the sparks. But just because it has the tie-in with the comics as well, like, there's literally the drawing in the book, and then you get the shot. That moment every time sends my heart in flutters.
You look so cuddly like that.
And then Nick can't look Charlie in the eye afterwards.
I don't think he's straight.
And speaking about Nick, he's a character. Tori does not believe that he is straight, as she states in episode 2. What specifically about that interaction she watched with Nick and Charlie at their front door would make her feel this way?
Well, the slightly prolonged hug might have something to do with it. I think she's just so in tune with her brother and what he's feeling, and I think she's like a people watcher, is what I've always thought, is that I'd imagine there are some times when she's appeared, but just nobody even notices. So she could be sort of lurking and watching for goodness knows how long. And so I think she's quite good at really picking up on little cues that people might not even know that they're showing. And
I'm curious if you've thought about, do you think that Tori saw Nick and Charlie on the sofa with Nick's hand hovering over Charlie? Nick might not have seen her. So do you think that she saw that interaction?
I think that's very interesting. I actually hadn't even considered that, which maybe I should have done. I think that, yeah, why not? I think that's quite possible, actually. The house that we were filming it in as well, there was a sort of, the room where they filmed that sofa bit, like, has these sliding doors that leads into the next room. So I'm now imagining that she was peeking through the sliding doors, seeing that interaction. Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. And I mean, she goes to the school nearby. She sees Nick, and how he's interacting with people, and, you know, I think she's constantly watching.
This picture represents how others see Nick. Wait, what? You didn't like the picture? You took it. Come on, double tap it.
Conversation we just had. So why am I like this? Why am I like this? Why am I like this? Why am I?
You can buy Why Am I Like This? Merch from Orla Gartland's store.orlagartland.com. I have the shirt.
Heartstopper has this amazing ear for music, in a sense, because, you know, we've got like Baby Queen, for example, and she's written us some, like, you know, original music for the show, and and we've got like a score, and there's so much there's so much personality in the music in Heartstopper, and watching it without the music compared to with it is so incredible. Like, I remember watching some of the scenes before they had music added to them, and it was like, you know, it was just the scene, and no matter how good the scene is, it's never going to be quite as good as when you have, you know, these songs that are specially fitted just for these scenes. And I think it definitely just adds a lot of character and personality to the show. And I think that, honestly, for me, I'll be just playing the Heartstopper playlist just constantly, I think.
I always find it so funny how in the Kindle version of the graphic novel I have Nick's search engine of choice is called Search UK. Apparently it was Google in the webcomic. RIP to Search UK in the Netflix version nonetheless.
Oh my. Oh my. Oh my.
And that's it for episode 2. See you next time for episode 3. Thanks for watching, and don't forget my sources are in the description.